I talk, you change. The way I used to do the things I used to do, you change. The way I walk, you change. The way I talk, you change. The way I used to do the things I used to do.
Listen, I used to be so down and I didn't know what my life was about. Couldn't see in the dark, but he seen in my heart that I could not keep going on without his hand to face and every single part of his love and grace. He told me that I needed him to replace.
Hey everyone. I am live here on Facebook, and I'm also, for the first time, ReWord is live on YouTube. And so I'm excited to be here today. I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have, a very interesting conversation about a book called Why Does My Skin Color Matter? And we have the author with us here on tonight, and it's going to be a fantastic conversation. I know it is because I know the person personally. And so I just know it's going to be a great conversation. I just want to give you a premise of why we're here. ReWord was designed to be a platform. And I always tell the story that when my father and I, he used to preach on Sunday, and I had the privilege of either he was taking the tape or the cassette tape. I know, right? The cassette tape, all the way back then to cassette tape time. And he would take the actual cassette and we would drive it over to the radio station so it could air that day. And so what we did, on the way there, he would listen to the message and he would critique himself, but we would also have a conversation about the message. And I would get deeper nuggets than the congregation got. I always thought that was amazing. And looking back on it now, my love for the Word of God came from those conversations, the deeper conversations that we had outside of his message, because every preacher knows they cannot, within a 30-minute, hour, however long they preach, they cannot get all the information that they gathered out in that moment. And so sometimes they skip over stuff or miss over stuff or wish they would have said stuff. And this platform was designed for preachers and, to actually have that extra reword, be able to reword it and be able to communicate the extra truths that God has given, the extra gems and the nuggets. I think also that also applies to authors and writers. They put a lot of information in books, but oftentimes you can get a deeper conversation about what they were actually coming from and where the book kind of was founded upon, the principles that it was founded upon, and get some deeper truths, get into the author's mind a little bit and find out what they were talking about. And so that's what this platform is designed to do. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited that I have my uncle here. And so without further ado, I'm gonna introduce him. Let me just get some information. So this is the name of his book. Why Does My Skin Color Matter? Why Does My Skin Color Matter? James Puckett Sr. is an ordained minister. He's the author of 11 books. Y'all hear that? 11 books. He's been married 32 years. This September, he has 3 children, 7 grandchildren. He's a retired Army veteran. Thank you for your service, Unc. He's retired from the school system as a security. He has a Master of Arts degree, pastor counselor from Liberty Theological Seminary in Liberty University. And so without further ado, we're going to bring on my uncle and my uncle. This is my uncle, y'all. So y'all be nice. No, I'm just kidding. Y'all don't have to be nice. He can handle his own. But y'all receive my uncle, James Puckett. There he is. How you doing,
Hey, Pastor, I'm doing well. Pastor, nephew, Pastor Little James. That's what I like to call you.
That's what you call me. Pastor Little James, right?
Pastor Little James, because I know your dad. He's Big James.
He's Big James, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I am excited to be on here this evening with you to talk about this subject.
Yeah.
And I love your introduction on how ReWord came about.
Yeah.
Because you are exactly right. pastors, they prepare for a message, they preach it, but they can't get everything out.
No.
They can't get everything out. So, and then you go back and you do what you call a Monday morning quarterback.
Right.
I wish I could have said this. I should have said this or whatever.
Absolutely.
But this program here, and I can see it really going places.
Oh man.
And God is really using you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, He's really using you. So
He's using you as well, man. 11 books. 11
well,
books.
Yes, and um, that's it's nothing to brag about,
Absolutely.
but they all came from God. They were
Absolutely.
God inspired.
Okay.
So as God inspired me, I had to put pen to the paper
Absolutely.
because He wouldn't let me rest.
Absolutely.
He wouldn't let me sleep at night. So I got it done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
11 books. Tell us a little bit about some of the books that you have written, some of the titles. I know you can't, maybe you can name all 11 of them. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I could probably name all 11 of them, but I won't. But I'll name just a couple.
Sure.
One of my last one is um, was on faith,
Yes.
and the title of it is "Got Now Faith."
Wow.
And because Hebrews 11 says that now faith
Come on.
is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Yes, sir.
So now faith. So you need faith in the now.
Yes.
Faith yesterday was good.
Mhm.
To have faith tomorrow will be good.
Right.
But I need faith now.
Yes, sir.
In the situation I'm going through now. So that's what that book is about. And also did one on I've done a couple related to teens and adolescents.
Yes.
Because in today's society, our teens, they really need a lot of guidance.
Yes, sir.
And the last one that I did on the teens, the title of it is it has to do with respect.
Yes, sir.
How to learn respect, even if you were never taught it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we are not taught how to respect.
Absolutely.
When I grew up, you could see respect. You could hear respect.
Yeah.
And you better respect.
Right.
Otherwise, you would get attended to, if you know what I mean.
Yes, sir. I know what you mean.
So, but even if you were never taught respect, you can learn how to respect. And there are certain principles that I talk about in the book, and one of them is seize the first opportunity.
Yeah.
Because there are always opportunities to show respect, and you have to seize those opportunities. If you don't seize those opportunities, then first of all, you're gonna let it slip by, and second of all, you're going to continue down the same road that you were headed on.
Yes, sir.
So you have to seize that first opportunity. When you have an opportunity to show respect.
Yeah.
In today's society, many of our young folks, they don't know what success look like. They don't know what it sounds like.
Right.
And they definitely don't know what it acts like.
Right.
So, I think it's important that we have to teach our young people, how to respect.
And I think that's amazing, because I think every teenager needed some guidance in their life, right?
Yes.
Because it's a pivotal moment in a teenager's life.
Yes.
Because they have choices to make, and they're about to become adults.
That's
and
exactly
so this is
right.
a critical time in their life for them to understand respect, understand how that takes you a long way.
Right. one of the
goals in
issues,
life. Go ahead.
yeah, and one of the issues that we have in a lot of the homes today
Yeah.
is, the ones that should be teaching respect,
Uh-oh.
they were never taught respect themselves.
Uh-oh.
So, it's just that generation, generation after generation of no
Yeah.
respect.
Wow.
So, and uh, you gotta focus your attention somewhere.
Yeah.
You gotta start somewhere. So you start, when they are small.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, when they are small. I mean, I can remember, you know, uh, my parents spanking my little legs, man, when I did something wrong,
Right.
I mean, and I could not have done anything real bad, but I
Right.
disrespected someone,
Yeah.
or I disrespected the home,
Yeah.
or I disrespected them,
Yeah.
you know. And as I got older, I began to realize what I was doing.
Yeah.
And some of those bad habits, they went out the window because I didn't want to get that little tap on the leg again,
Right.
or whatever. But we have to get them. We have to get them while they're young,
Absolutely.
because if we let them grow up, then um, uh, little Johnny, he's standing, 3 feet over mom,
Right.
you know,
Ooh.
and now he's telling mom what to do. There's a
Wow.
role reversal in the home,
Wow.
So um, so we have to get them while they're young.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And so this new book that you wrote,
yeah,
Why Does Skin Color Matter? That is an amazing title, because we're dealing with a lot of racism in the country,
I
or what
know
is
it.
perceived to be racism. And
Yeah.
so this new book is dropped just in the nick of time. Yeah.
Well,
Where'd you get that title from?
actually, last year around March,
Okay.
when all the talk about racism, and blacks against white and whites against black and all this stuff was going on.
Yeah.
I remember I was sitting on my couch,
Uh-huh.
and and uh, I it just came to me. I said to myself, why does my skin color matter?
Yeah.
I was asking myself that question.
Yeah.
You know, and I answered myself, and I
Yeah.
say it doesn't matter, or it shouldn't matter.
Okay.
So as a mean of therapy for me, because I began to think about my childhood,
Sure.
you know, the way I was brought up, and where I was brought up,
Yeah.
and the time that I was brought up,
Yeah.
you know. And so I began to think about that, and it sort of brought tears to my eyes, you
Okay.
know. And then shortly after, I heard someone say that, you know, uh, uh, this nation is more racist today than it was 50 years ago. And
Wow.
I say that's not true.
I was about to say, what do you think about that?
I say I was I was a little boy
Come on.
back then,
Okay.
and I know what I went through. I know what my parents went through,
Yeah.
and today is nothing like that. Today is nothing like that. So that's how I came up with the title. And so I got up from the couch, and I just went to my computer, and I just started typing,
Wow.
and it was just flowing out of me. I had no intention of doing a book,
Okay.
no attention. I was just releasing.
Sure.
I was just releasing at the time. But that went on for days.
Okay.
It went on for days.
Wow.
And so, well, a couple of months passed by, and I would stop, and then I would hear something else, and I would go back and work on it again.
Yeah.
So, and then I just, felt inspired to continue and to just put share you know, what the Spirit would lead me to share with people
Yeah.
about racism. Uh, I believe that this nation is not a racist nation. And I say that because I lived, during the Jim Crow days,
All right.
during the Jim Crow laws. And for your viewers who are not familiar with the Jim Crow laws,
Yeah.
that was a time for, well, it was a law to suppress the Black people.
Okay.
You know, you couldn't vote. There was separation, segregation everywhere you went. Segregation, in the school, on the school buses, basically everywhere you went, in the churches,
Yeah.
you know. So to say that it's worse than what it is today, or this is a racist nation, I just don't believe that based on what I know, doing my bringing up. So, I wrote the book, and I just because a lot of our Black brothers and sisters,
Hmm.
you know, they they feel that because of their skin color,
Yeah.
you know, that they have a disadvantage,
Mm.
in this world.
Wow.
And I, I don't believe that. Look at you, Pastor
Right.
James. You know, I mean, we live in my opinion, and I've been in some third world countries, so I can say this.
Right. Because you
You
got
know,
military background.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. In my opinion, you know, we live in the greatest country in the world, the
Wow.
United States of America, and there are uh, 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 many opportunities, you know, but we have to get up and seize those opportunities. We can't wait for someone to sit around and we can't sit around and wait for someone to hand to us or give us what we are expecting.
Right.
You know, my dad taught me. My dad. Well,
Yeah.
I
My
mean,
granddad. Yeah.
yeah, your granddad. He was an amazing man,
Yeah.
and he always taught me. He said that um, learn to work hard, and he said that uh, he would always tell me that uh, ownership is better than ownership,
Mm.
meaning that it's okay to own something,
Right.
but it's better to have earned it.
Wow.
It's better to have earned it.
Now that's a philosophy that went out the window.
Oh man, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Especially with our what you call the millennium and the Gen Zs,
Uh huh.
you
Uh
want
huh.
to call them. They think that someone owed them something. You know, well, I'm here to tell you, no one owed them anything.
Sure.
You know, if you want a piece of this pie, as they say, you're gonna have to get up and cut it yourself.
Wow.
No one is going to cut it and bring it to you. So, but
Wow.
I, but I just want to throw some um, uh, some of the myths that are going out there about racism.
Okay.
That maybe some people, maybe they don't know, but I'm here to tell you that I live some of the time, and I can't imagine what my parents went through. I can't
Right.
imagine what your mom went through.
Right.
You know, I mean, because she's a little older than I am,
Right.
and she lived during those times.
Yeah.
So um, but we have to teach our young people that uh, because everything that bad that happened to them is not because of the color of their skin.
Mm.
You
So
know,
then, what would you say would be the reason why? Because some there's be young people that would say, well, it is racism because we got white people were given a advantage. They didn't have to. We were given a disadvantage, and so although the racism might not be the same as it was when you grew up, there's still a sense of racism here to the point where we have a disadvantage because we started later as a Black community.
well, I would say that might be true,
Sure.
you know, to some degree.
Mhm.
But how long are we going to live there? How long are we going to live there? You know, that's why I'm against this ideal of reformation.
Okay.
You know, um, you know, I mean, when you talk about reformation, you're talking about repaying someone for what someone else did.
Sure.
You know, I accept the fact that somewhere way down the line,
Mhm.
my ancestors may have been slaves. I
Absolutely.
accept that fact, but that doesn't make me a slave,
Right.
you know. So
So when you
I'm
grew up, you telling me that you weren't a slave?
uh, when I grew up, I
Yeah.
wasn't a slave.
Yeah.
Well, during that time, in my mind, uh, I didn't know what slavery was.
Wow.
Um, Now that I look back on it,
Sure.
I would say yes, it was probably some form of slavery
Absolutely.
because we depended on, you know, certain benefits from the white man. We were told what to do, you know, uh, where we could go, and stuff like that. So yes, looking back on that, yes, but but that was, you know, 50, 60 years ago,
Absolutely.
and but today, like I said before, you know, we have the greatest opportunity in this world, you know, to say that someone owe me for what someone else did, you know, over 120 years, I mean, over 150 years ago when slavery, you know, uh, ended
Right.
in this country. I mean, I could go on for that for the rest of my life,
Right.
and I'll keep getting the same thing that I'm getting now. And at some point, you have to stop. You have to realize that okay, maybe you know somebody from my lineage were slaves,
Mhm.
but I'm not a slave today. I have more opportunities than they had. You know, I mean, the country is nothing like it was back then.
Yeah.
So we got to stop this notion of someone owe me something for something that someone else did. You know, reformation. I mean, where would you start?
Right.
Where would you start? Where who would it start with?
Right.
Where would it end?
Right.
There's going to be some group or some person that will never be satisfied,
Right.
and we're going to continue this this thing until you know uh, I don't know. It probably won't stop because no one will be satisfied. This group will say, you know, well, you know, they got more than I got. This group will say they got more than I got. And I can guarantee you that these people who are pushing for this or who are, you know, hollering about reformation, if you ask them, they could not name one person in their family, in their lineage, that were actually a slave.
Mm.
They could not do that.
That'd be part of the argument, wouldn't it?
That would have to be part of the argument. You know, can you prove to me who in your family, who in your lineage was a slave and when? It has to be. Otherwise, you're just going to be giving stuff away.
Right.
I don't want their 40 acres in a mule.
Right.
I don't want it. And I can tell you the truth. When if you pass reformation and you say, okay, this group is going to get this person is going to get this or whatever. Pastor James,
Yeah.
if you haven't been taught and trained in managing resources, especially in money,
Yeah.
it's you're
It
going to be
doesn't
worse.
matter.
You're going to be worse off afterward than you were when you got it.
Wow.
The Bible said money in the hands of a fool will destroy him. If
Wow.
you don't have the wisdom to come with whatever you get, it ain't gonna do you no good anyway.
Right.
It's not gonna do you any good. Why not get up, go to work, find your job, go to work, and hard work works. It works.
Absolutely.
It works. It works every time.
It does.
Yes.
I know that I just recently just came out that the jobs, that there's more jobs that were created. I might be getting this wrong. I just heard this morning. I heard that the jobs creation numbers were up, but the people that actually go to the jobs are down because people have been getting stimulus checks and unemployment. And so nobody now currently wants to work, and nobody wants to go to work because they feel like, well, if I stay at home, I can collect and get unemployment. And so some of the states right now are going to stop the unemployment benefits or the extra unemployment benefits. Then they have to also prove that they're getting up and looking for jobs.
That's exactly right. I heard the same thing, and you got these small businesses. They coming out complaining. I can't get. People come in and they'll fill out the application, but when you call them to hire them, they say I don't want to do it, and it's simply because they can make more money in unemployment and with the stimulus check or whatever the case may be than they can, working a real job.
Right.
So they choose to stay at home. They don't understand that money is going to run out sooner or later.
Absolutely.
I mean, that money is going to run out, and all this free money they're getting, somebody's paying for it. It's
Somebody's paying for it.
It's not free. I'm telling you, somebody's paying for it. So, for these people that have this mindset, once you put a carrot in front of a rabbit, that rabbit is going to continue to look for a carrot.
Wow.
You know that?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's it's hard to it's hard to change that.
Absolutely. It's like my mom always used to say, if you start feeding the cat, the cat gonna always come around.
Yep. The cat gonna be part of the family.
Right. Even though it might not come in the house, but it's going to know, and it's going to expect something from you every time. It's going to see you and expect something from you. And the world has been conditioned for 6 months or more to look for something from the government.
Yes.
And the government has never been, or had never was supposed to be our God or our giver. It was supposed to give us things.
See, and what we don't understand, and I'm speaking mostly to the Black community now, what we don't understand that, they are trying to buy us.
Wow.
We are operating, the ones that believe that are operating in a slavery mindset.
Wow.
Because these people that are putting the carrot out there, promising you all of this stuff, they just want your vote.
Yeah.
That's all they want.
Absolutely.
It's sort of like the enemy.
Yeah.
The enemy will tell you all the good stuff,
right?
But he'll never tell you the outcome.
Right.
Never tell you the outcome. So, they promise you all of this stuff and, all of this stuff. And you say, okay, sounds good, sounds good.
Right.
And then once they get in their position, it's like, you know, they renege, they
Right.
renege on a whole lot of it, a lot of it. But to fall in that trap, you're operating in a slavery mindset there, right there.
Wow.
The Emancipation Proclamation, ended slavery.
Right.
So why we want to continue to live there? We are
Well, now
doing
some will say
we are
that.
doing ourselves more injustice than anybody else is.
Right.
Until we wake up and realize that, hey, I'm not going to think like a slave. I'm not going to be treated like a slave. I'm not going to act like a slave. You know, um, uh, I'm not going to be inferior
Hmm.
over, another skin color, and they are not superior over me. I,
Right.
I have, I have just as much right, or I have the opportunity
Hmm.
just like they have. The problem is they think, and they get us to think that we are unworthy and that we can't do anything for ourselves. And
Wow.
then they throw this on us, reformation. They throw slavery on us. That we had it so bad. And again, I mean, I'm this project 19, this 1619 project. They
Right.
trying to throw in school. The critical race.
Race theory. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is just designed to keep our young folks in a slavery mindset.
Come on.
They want to teach them all the bad things, all the crucial things that happened back then,
Hmm.
instead of teaching them, about, how we as a black people, we persevered. We
That's right.
came through that. We came through that, and how we survived, and how we thrived in America. You
Absolutely.
know, but they want to teach just the opposite. They want to keep us oppressed, and it's not going to happen to me. And
Right.
and until the black community wake up and realize what they are doing, they're going to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to have all of this division in our country.
What
And
about the division? I heard I'm in a conversation on Saturdays, and we've been talking about Black Men Matter, and we've been doing that discussion for about 3 weeks now, and we've
Mhm.
been talking about the importance of Black men and how they matter in the Black community. And one of the persons brought up, he said that even amongst the Black people that we're divided, and it's hard for us to even come together as a Black community because we're divided so much. And even in our community, we have let's talk about we can talk about denominational, church, religion, and denomination. We're
Mhm.
divided there, and then we're divided politically. You have Black Republicans, you have
Right.
Black Democrats, and then you're divided by social class. Then you're divided by economic class, and so within our community, we're split so many different ways. What's the solution to get us together, to get on one page and get us back fighting and being celebrating our perseverance?
Well, that's a very good question. And my answer to that would be, um, we as a black community, first of all, we have to acknowledge that, yes, you know, we probably, someone in our lineage, were a slave, came from slave, they went through all of it. They had all that, but in a lot of the communities today, you have some that will identify as African American.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have some that will identify as Black American.
Mm-hmm.
Now African Americans, you know, they were they they are the reason that they identify with that most likely is because they are able to trace their lineage back to the African immigrant.
Gotcha.
But after the first or second generation,
Yeah.
you know, you were born in the United States of America,
Absolutely.
you know, and now you become a Black American, you know. The term is the two terms are used interchangeable,
Mm-hmm.
but as long as the Black community, and even if you can identify, your lineage back to Africa, and I would say that 90, uh, 99% of the young people today, they cannot do that. They just going by what someone is telling them or
Right.
what they have heard. They have done no research. They have read. They nothing. They're just going by what someone has told them. And now, someone's told them, the white man owed me something for what they did to my people.
Yeah.
For what they did to my people. Again, can you name someone from your lineage that was an actual slave?
Mm-hmm.
So what we have in America today is we have the older generation teaching the younger generation, and now the millennium and the Gen Zs, they have this mindset has been planted into them that, okay, I'm from Africa. I'm from Africa. So because I'm from Africa, I'm part of slavery.
Mm.
I understand that, there are Black people in the Bible.
Yeah.
So I'm not just throwing something out here.
Sure.
But until we as a people, as a community, as a Black community, Black men's matter, we as Black men, because God called the man to be the head of the house.
Right.
And until we as Black men realize and we begin to teach our children, our household, and teach the ones in our community that, yeah, I know the color of your skin, but you don't have to identify with the African, you don't have to identify with slavery because you were born in the United States of America and you are not one of those first or second generation of migrant that came from Africa, after slavery. So because you have the the uh, um, uh, the African American, and then you have the Black American. Those two groups, the ones that identify as African American, they have a different mindset normally of the ones that identify as Black American.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always going to be conflict there.
Gotcha.
Until we get on the same page,
Right.
But even still, if across the board everybody identify themselves as African American, again, how long are you going to stay there?
Right.
How long are you going to stay there?
Right.
because you're going to keep holding out your hand. People are going to keep promising you stuff, promising they're going to pay this, they're going to give you this, they're going to give you that. You will never want to do anything for yourself.
Mhm.
Never.
What would you say to someone that I know this incident actually just happened to me and my wife. We were at a store, and we were shopping at this store, and it was it was a high end store, not super high end, but it was a high end enough. And we were in the store and we were shopping, and we were talking and shopping, and you know,
Uh-huh.
and then we were followed around in the store, and my wife noticed it before I did,
Yeah.
and I didn't pay any mind. But what would you say to people that say, well, this stuff is still happening, so my skin color does matter because my counterparts were in the same store. They didn't get harassed. They didn't get followed around like all of the supervisor. And it seemed like the whole store gathered around us, employment staff, to see if we were going to be stealing and
Right.
doing anything like that. What would you say to somebody that says, well, in that instance, my skin color does matter?
Well, again, the title of my book, Why Does My Skin Color Matter?
Yeah,
You know, um, and, like I said, I answered myself.
yeah,
Well, to me, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
And in the eyes of God, it doesn't matter.
absolutely.
Now, it matters to some people.
Yeah,
I mean, even in 2021, there are
yeah,
people out there who still see us, you know, to still see our skin color as being a threat
yeah,
or being someone who is bad, you
yeah,
know. Um, but me as a person, matter of fact, that has happened to me too.
yeah,
That has happened to me too. And I went on about my business. You know, uh, I didn't ignore them, but I went on about my business. I didn't let that stop me from, carrying out my mission or whatever. But um, that's going to happen
absolutely.
because we live in a world, that is not divide. I mean, that is not united.
Right.
It's it's totally divided. And to say that it doesn't happen here or it doesn't happen over there, um, uh, it just wouldn't be right.
Right.
But it does happen.
Yeah.
But again, you know, uh, your skin color shouldn't matter. And the people who are, you know, looking at this like this, looking at your skin color as being, inferior or whatever, or they feel that you should look at them as being superior or whatever, you know, they are the one that have the problem,
Absolutely.
and most of the time they are not educated.
Sure.
They're not educated, on Black history,
Right.
so but uh, and I would be willing to say that we probably always have that.
That's what
You
I kind
know,
of figured that,
yeah,
I don't think, I know I said in a statement the other day, I said, I don't think racism was
no,
never going to go anywhere.
no.
And,
Mhm.
and because we have wicked people in the world,
We have
and
wicked people.
racism is a taught thing. It's not, it's a taught. So if I teach my son or my daughter that African American is superior, and the white man teaches that his son or daughters
There you
are
go. You got
superior, that's going to be a clash at
that's
some
the
point.
clash right there. That's the clash right there.
Right.
That's the clash right there. I um, during Black History Month, I remember I was sitting in my truck.
Yeah.
We had ordered some food, and I was sitting in my truck waiting to go and get the food, and I had the radio on,
Yeah.
and it came across the radio, and it was an announcement or something about Black History Month.
Yeah.
And I just said to myself, I don't want a Black History Month.
Right.
And, and so, and I got to thinking about what I just said.
Mhm.
I mean, I said it out loud to
Yeah.
myself. I'm the only one in the truck.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want a Black History Month.
Yeah.
And so as I thought about it, um, I got a better revelation of actually what I was saying.
Okay.
Um, to have a Black History Month to me is saying that, okay, my skin color, because I'm Black,
Mhm.
I am superior over whites, or I am superior over Hispanic, or whatever, the case may be.
Right.
Because I got a whole month to celebrate it,
Right.
and you don't. And you don't. And I said, if I was a white person, I would be upset with the
Mhm.
Blacks because I don't have a white history month.
Right.
I say, or, the white could look at it and say, well, because you got a Black history month and I don't have one, then does that make you superior over me?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So, so I was saying, I say, I don't want one.
Sure.
I don't want one. If we need to teach our young children, if we need to teach our young folks about Black history, why we can't do it, but first of all, it should be done in the home.
Right.
That's why I hate this critical race theory, concept. Parents
Right.
should be teaching their children in the home. It shouldn't be uh, no public schools, shouldn't be the school system doing that.
Right.
That should be done in the home. But uh, uh, Black history, should be taught to our young folks by their parents.
Absolutely.
And that's just what I
I mean,
believe.
we lost, and I'm glad you wrote this book. Some of this book has a lot to do with our family,
Yeah, yeah,
and so,
yeah,
I was really. My mom, she started reading the book. She got emotional because
yeah.
a lot of times what we don't have is we don't have Black history is our history, right? I need
Our
to know who
history.
the Pucketts are. I need to
Exactly,
know where we came from. I need to know where
exactly.
the Bufords came from. I need to know because it's a part of my history. It's a part of my ancestry. It's a
Right.
part of my makeup, and that's what makes me rich as a person.
That's exactly right. And I was telling your mom, I say, you know, um, uh, your children and especially your grandchildren, you know, they read this book, they wouldn't have a clue,
Right,
unless you sat down and tell them, they wouldn't know, you know, where you came from,
right,
what you went through.
right,
They look at you now and say, "Oh, you're doing great," or whatever.
right,
But look what you had to go through to
right.
get to where you are today.
Come on,
You
come
know,
on.
uh,
That's what I
it-
loved about in the Bible. The children of Israel, that they were commanded to teach their children and their
children. Yep,
children's children, their
yep.
children's children,
That's right.
their history, so
Yep.
they'll always know where they came from.
It's important. His you know they want to take away our history. They
Right,
want to take down the statues. I mean all this stuff. I know some of it may not be you know. Um, that kosher or whatever,
right,
it has its, bad thoughts behind it or whatever.
mhm,
But again, it's history. To me, history says that, okay, I can learn something from this.
absolutely,
It's going to either teach me, what I don't want to go back to visit, or it can teach me, you know, what went on and help me to do better.
Absolutely.
You ever uh, just think about it like this: you go to your doctor,
Yeah.
and especially if you go to a doctor that you never seen before, especially stuff like that, they're gonna have you fill out a ton of paperwork,
Right.
and somewhere in that stack of papers, they're gonna ask you about your family health history, medical
Absolutely.
history, your mom, your dad, your sister,
Right.
your brother, you know, and stuff like that, and you got to fill in all this stuff. Why do they need to know that? Because they want to know that, you know, it will help them, you know, figure out the issue that you're having. You
Absolutely.
know, if somebody, you know, in your lineage, you know, in your family have had, you know, because they probably got a good idea of what's going on anyway,
Right.
but they get your history to figure out whether it was passed down through the genes or whatever,
Right.
you know, so they can better diagnose you so they can get the treatment that they need for you. But
Right.
they got to have history is important. History is very important, but you know, they want to take away your history. And uh, that's exactly, you know, what is going on today. You know,
Not
without
only take it away, they want to rewrite it too.
they want to rewrite it. They want it to say what they want it to say.
Absolutely.
You know, so history is very important.
Absolutely. Because in history you can see patterns, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You can see
patterns.
patterns, and I know just in my life, you know, when you look at the history, you can see patterns, and you can see go back and say, well, maybe if I do something different here, I can change the outcome of this, and I don't have to deal with the same things that my forefathers
That,
had to deal with.
that's when you know history of your lineage or of your family, it will give you ammunition to break generational curses,
Come on.
because a lot of things that we are dealing with today is because of generational curses.
Yeah.
And we don't know the history of our family, you know, so we can't break that. And sometimes we do know the history, but sometimes we just choose not to do it.
Right. Because we try to avoid history because it's painful,
We tried,
and you can't do that either.
we tried, you cannot avoid it either. It happened. It may not have been good.
Right.
It may not have felt good, but it happened. But I can learn from it.
Absolutely.
I can learn from it. I just, you know, you just don't take it and sweep it under the rug and
Right.
pretend that it never happened,
Right.
because it did happen.
Absolutely.
Now that you know that it happened, what are you going to do about it to keep it from
Absolutely.
happening to you?
And that's the same thing. It goes back to what you talked about with slavery. It's the same
Exactly.
thing. It
Exactly.
happened.
It happened.
Okay, now what are we going to do about it going forward?
What are we going to do about it?
Right.
What are we going to we going to keep ourselves in slavery?
Come on.
When people done signed papers and went to, you know, Martin Luther King Jr. What was that all about? Civil rights movement. What's that all about? And now we're going to keep ourselves there.
Right.
You know, all these people that died, you know, they marched, they died. I mean, to for us to gain freedom.
Right.
Rosa Parks, what was that all about? Sitting
Right.
at the, you know, and they told her to sit at the back of the bus. She said no. What was that all about?
Right.
We don't have to sit at the back of the bus today.
No.
Well, why don't we get up and move to the front?
Right. Right.
I'm
We
just
choose to sit in
saying.
the back now.
Thank you. Why don't we get up and move to the front? But
Right.
yet we have this mindset. I'm still in slavery. I gotta go to the back of the bus.
And we
It's a
can
mind.
have,
You gotta change your mindset.
yeah. I've been doing a message series talking about Romans 12 and 1, verse 2.
Oh, renewing your mind.
And what the Lord showed me in Romans 12 and verse 2 was whatever, because it says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, right?
Yes.
And the Lord showed me, he says, whatever you conform to is what you'll transform into.
That's exactly right. That's
right.
exactly
And
right.
so a lot of us have conformed to our ways of doing things,
Right.
and we've conformed to what the world's telling us how we should act, how we should behave, and how we should talk, how we should look. And since we conform to it, we've transformed into the image
That's exactly what is going on now.
Yeah.
That's exactly what is going on. There are people out there, organizations, telling the Black community, and again, the millennium and the Gen Zs, how they should act, how they should think. That's what they're doing. Judge Joe Brown, I like to watch his show. He's one of those television judges.
Yeah.
And he was doing a case one time, and he told this young Black man.
Yeah.
He say, if a slave doesn't stop thinking like a slave, he is still a slave.
Wow.
He's not a free man.
Yeah. It's just like an elephant. I heard somebody make reference to an elephant. How can I don't know how big of a 3-ton beast that's able to crush a human be at the mercies of a human unless he's in his mind thinks that he's in chains?
Yeah, that's true. That
he can literally take that little human and toss him across with no problem.
Yep. Yep.
But yet he's still, it's because he's been trained to be.
He's been trained
at the mercy. He thinks that he's in chains.
Yep.
And so in our minds, a lot of times we think that we're in chains, and we still operate like we're in chains, that we're slaves, and that we're inferior. No, and we're not superior, or neither are we inferior.
Exactly
we are
right.
humans.
We are humans. Yeah, I don't care if you are Black American,
right?
If you are Asian American, if you're white American, you are Hispanic American, whatever you want to identify yourself as, you are an American.
Right.
You are an American.
Right.
And again, this country, give each and every one of us the same opportunities.
Right.
But if I have the mindset,
right,
because of my skin color, that I'm not worthy, then I'm not going to go out and get it.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, I got this voice over here coming over here and say, "No, they owe you something. You shouldn't have to work for it. They should take some of theirs and give it to you." Guess what? I'm still going to be, looking for somebody to give me something. Right. I'm not going to get up and do it myself.
Right.
I got this mindset that someone owed me something. I'm being reconditioned to think that, okay, I'm getting 40 acres and a mule. Somebody's going to pay me for what somebody did over 150 years ago. Even though I can't trace myself back to them, they owe me because of my skin color. I must be affected.
Wow.
It's not true.
Right.
Not true. I mean, you got generations after generation losing the battle because of this mindset.
Right.
You got men and women, they have this mindset, so they are not doing anything about it. They are raising children with the same mindset, and it's just a continuation.
Yeah.
And families are being destroyed.
Yeah.
So now you have this group, this government that comes along. We'll take care of you.
Right.
We'll give you this. We'll pay for this. You can have this. and it's further plant that seed of, like you said, that seed of superiority on their part, and now I have to be inferior of them because, you know, after all, they're giving me what I want.
Mhm.
So I can't do it on my own.
Well, I mean, Joe Biden said that black people can't even go get driver's licenses. They don't know how to they don't know how to use a computer.
But Pastor James, how many black people you know that don't have some form of ID?
Right?
I
I mean,
mean,
you got to.
see that those words right there are a put down
Absolutely.
in my book.
Absolutely.
You know, that's a put down. It's like, what do you mean? You telling me I can get an ID? I don't know how to get an ID. I'm not smart enough to get an ID. I'm not smart enough to use a computer.
Right.
So you got to compensate for me that I have to do a mail-in ballot. I can't go in public and vote.
Right.
Come on, give me a break. I find that very offensive.
I was very offended by that too.
Yes.
I mean, if I was going to get offended by anything, I was like, man,
Yes,
you
that's
trying to
very
tell
offensive.
you trying to say black people again? It's that subliminal message.
And see, they use these little sentences. That they use these little remarks, but because if you're not, if you've been conditioned to receive stuff like that, you're going to receive it just as that. Well, now I don't have enough sense to get an ID.
Right.
So
Or you'll say it makes sense. Oh yeah, maybe
yeah,
they should.
yeah.
They should make it easier for me. No, get up
Make
and
it
go
easier
get your
for me.
ID.
Sure. It's not rocket science.
Right.
I tell you, you know, but little remarks like that, you know. But again, if you don't have the mindset to pick up on those things, you will buy into it.
Right.
You'll
And I
buy
know some people
into
are going to say, well, that's just being insensitive, because I heard all the arguments. The argument is, you know, they don't have the money nor the resources. Sometimes they can't find their birth certificates and things of that nature. I'm saying, well, I know when I go to a job, they ask me for my driver's license, ID, and they ask me for my social security number. They ask me for those things. And so either you ain't working, because they're going to ask you for that. You're going to have to have it. If you get pulled over by the police, you're going to have some type of identification proving who you are.
See, now you just brought up a good point. Either you're not working. They don't want you to work.
Right.
They don't want you to work. So they don't want you to, they're trying to take your identity away.
Yeah.
They don't want you to have any type of identification.
Right.
They don't want you to identify with yourself in any form. Only thing they want you to identify yourself with as being a slave.
Wow.
And you have to depend on them.
Come on.
You can't do nothing for yourself. You're not smart enough. If you ain't black, you know, or how did Joe Biden put it? If you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
You ain't black. Yeah.
You don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Right.
What?
Right.
I mean, I found that very offensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so it just, you know, but they use this to draw us in, especially the ones, you know, who
they use the money they use especially money to draw us in. I mean, I can tell you how many people were so excited about getting just free money, and I'm like, Now, me and my wife were we were denied. My wife was denied the PPE loan, which she probably should deserve because of the industry that she's in.
Right.
But you know what she found in the midst of it? She found the resolve to make it happen, and that is the true.
Entrepreneur. That's the true entrepreneur spirit.
Absolutely, because you're gonna make it happen regardless.
You're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
You're gonna make it happen. You can't sit back and say, "Well, they didn't give me my loan.
Right.
That's it. I'm done.
Right.
The business is gone.
Right.
I'm done."
Right.
No.
You figure it out.
You get up and you figure it out.
Right.
And that's what's missing today.
Absolutely.
That's what's missing today.
Absolutely.
People have no gut. They have no
Grit.
fortitude to
Yeah.
get up and make things happen because they've been conditioned that, hey, I'll do it for you. I'll give it to you. All you got to do is vote for me. You don't even have to work. I'm going to give you, this. I heard somewhere about, giving folks $2,000 a month for a whole year, stuff like that. I'm saying, what's going to happen to the workforce?
Right. You ain't gonna have one.
You ain't going to have one.
Yeah, you ain't gonna have one.
It's crazy.
Because I heard something, I think something similar to that, and it was because I'm like, okay, so then if I'm standing home and you're staying at home and everybody's staying at home collecting the check, who's making the products that we need?
There's no production going on unless you got a bunch of robots, whatever. But there's no production.
Right.
And this is not who we are.
Right.
As the United States.
Well, and it's not who we are as humans.
No, exactly.
God didn't create us with that type of mentality. He says, I've given you in Deuteronomy, he says, I've given you the ability to create wealth.
That's right. And in the beginning, what did he tell Adam? He put Adam in charge of the garden.
Right.
He told him to dress it. He told him to keep it. Then he told him, him and Eve to be fruitful and multiply.
Multiply. Come on.
And he wasn't talking about, all children either.
Right.
Multiply the earth.
Right.
With goods. With everything.
Right.
If you study out that word, when you say keep the garden.
Yeah.
That means Adam had a job, brother.
He had to work.
He had to work. He had to work.
Yeah.
He had to work. And that's what we were designed to do.
Absolutely.
And when people take that, and that's when that is taken away from us, we lose we lose part of our history.
Absolutely.
We lose part of our history. And we lose who we are as a person.
Yeah.
God put, the work ethic in us, but it's just like anything else. It's just like a muscle. The muscle won't get stronger or it won't get bigger until you work it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was some years ago, I remember I was reading in the Bible, and I was reading about Joshua, and he was talking about this is when so Moses had passed, had died, and
right.
Joshua had he had the charge to now take the children of Israel over into the promised land. And so there was one particular verse that I got to. It was around Joshua chapter 5, I think it was, that it said that as soon as the children of Israel got circumcised, because he had a whole new generation of people. There was a whole new generation who had never been circumcised.
Right.
And that's that, we know what that means in the spiritual realm, the callous of their heart, they have not given their life to Christ. Right. And so they hadn't been circumcised. And so the charge was given to Joshua to circumcise them. When he circumcised them, the Bible says that the manna ceased. I always thought for years that the manna was a provision of God. And in some instances it is, but it was given to a children of Israel, that the children who were disobedient.
Exactly.
When they renewed their hearts back to Christ, the manna ceased. And so what the Lord showed me was that the manna was not the provision of God. It was never meant for people to just sit and collect and get, because manna actually literally meant, what is it? They
Yeah.
didn't even know what
What
it
is it?
was.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
when they were able to get circumcised, the Bible says the manna ceased, and then it said that they went back to tilling the ground.
Yep. We're back to tilling the ground. We're back to work.
Went back to working
They went back to
because
working. That's
because
exactly right.
it's cohesiveness. When you work the ground, you receive the things from the ground, and God always meant for us to be working. He always meant for us. He never meant for us to rely on anybody to give us anything.
That's
he
exactly
always
right.
he always gave us the tenacity and
That,
ability to go get it ourselves.
that's exactly right. God is our source.
Absolutely.
God is our source. Now he most likely will use a person,
Hmm.
but we can't depend on that person as our source.
Right.
God is our source, and we let God get it to us ever how He want to get it to us.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
when we depend on man, or a government or organization to be our supply, we have missed the boat. I'm telling you,
Right.
we are in big trouble,
Right.
and that's what's wrong today.
Right.
That is exactly what's wrong today.
Right, right. Yeah. And there's a particular part of the book that you talked about, a father and son talk about racism.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, I think I share a story in there about I can't remember how old I was, but that was this little town, and the name of the town was LaGrange, Tennessee.
Yeah.
It wasn't far from our house,
Okay.
and uh, there were stories that there were two black boys that had gotten hanged for whistling at a white girl,
Okay.
and there were stories of this this black girl being raped, and I think her body was found in a ditch or something like that. Well, uh, uh, this particular morning, me and my dad, he he decided that it was time,
Okay.
you know, to really educate me, about some of the racism, that was going on. And uh, basically, what he told me that uh, racism, is something that's been around his whole life, and it'll probably be around, you know, for a long time, for the duration of my life, or
Yeah.
whatever. But what what I specifically remember about that is he always told me that no matter what, treat people, with respect, and treat them the way that you would want to be treated.
Hmm.
And even though racism is something that is uh, it was a fact that it
Right.
was there, but
Y'all lived it, right? They
yes,
lived it. So
yes,
they seen it firsthand.
but he didn't want me to grow up thinking that all white people were bad or all white people were racist.
Yeah.
If anybody had the right to to uh, to be racist or to be um, uh, uh, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
it was my mom and dad,
Right.
and I would say, I would have that right too from what I went through.
Right.
But I never saw my mom and dad, or I never heard them say anything anything bad about the white man. You have to understand that, we were sharecroppers. And my mom and dad, we lived in someone else's house.
Right.
And we worked someone else's farm.
Right.
And at the end of the year, if crops weren't so good that year, then what dad got wasn't that good. And dad worked for the white man, in return for a place to live. Now, my dad and my mom didn't have nowhere else to go. And
Right.
they had a family to take care of. I would imagine that they wanted to do better, but they didn't know they couldn't,
Right.
But my mom and dad, let me tell you this story. I can remember this just like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It was close to Christmas. My dad took me. I was a little old bitty boy. We went to the white man's house, and we had to go to the back door.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't go to the front door. We had to go to the back door. And on the way down there, my dad told me, he said, "Don't you say nothing now. You be quiet." So he was going to ask the boss man for an advance for some more money for Christmas for us.
Okay.
Well, we get there, and I'm scared to death.
Right.
We get there. Dad knocks on the door. His wife come to the door, and she said, and she called my dad's name. "What do you want, Mose?" And he say, "Is Mr. So-and-so here?" And she said, "Yes, wait a minute." So she closed the door. And a few minutes later, he came out. "What do you want, Mose?" And Dad say, "I was wondering if you could advance me a little money so I can have a better Christmas for my family." And he cursed Dad. And told him, "I done told you there ain't no more GD money." That's exactly what he said. And slammed the door in his face. My dad didn't say a word. We turned around and we start walking. I looked up at Dad. And I said, "Dad, why did he slam the door in your face?" He said, "Oh, that's all right. That's the way he is sometimes." And I knew my dad was hurt, but he didn't show it. And I say, "Why didn't he give you any more money?" And he said, "Well, that's his money." I said, "Are you mad?" And he said, "No." He said, "I don't have the right to be mad, because, it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to him." And we walked back to the house.
Wow.
And Dad didn't say no more about it. Because see, Dad knew that he had to establish, he had to maintain that relationship with the boss man.
Right.
Because he lived on his land, he lived in his house, and he didn't have nowhere else to go. And he had, they had children, had nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So was that slavery? Yes. But I'm not like I don't live that way today.
Right.
I don't live that way today.
Well, you gotta close, because I talked about this on Mother's Day. We gotta wrap it up, but I want you to talk about Grandma and how she put land on layaway.
Oh my
because
God.
that just for me was just every time I hear that story, I always want my mom to tell me that story because it's just an amazing story about how you can overcome the odds.
Yes, and you know, I didn't know this until I was talking to your mom.
Yeah,
Your mom told me about it, and
yeah,
I say, "What?" And after she told me, you know, I got over the shock or whatever. I say, "Well, that's just like mom."
yeah.
Well, again, my parents, they wanted to get us out of that sharecropping, out of that farming. You know, they wanted a better life for us. But at the time, they could not do it. And so, mom, bless her heart, I mean, she, she was she was working part time at this fruit processing place,
Okay,
and then she was working part time as um, uh, a housekeeper or whatever for this white family, and she was taking that money and she took that money and put a piece of land
that is
on
incredible.
layaway, not knowing. Listen to this,
Yeah,
not knowing, you know, when, did I mean didn't have a date or anything like that, when they was going to be able to get out of this.
right,
But she she had a mindset that, hey, I ain't going to stay here forever. My
right,
kids are not going to stay here forever. We getting out of this. We going to get out of here. But while we're here, we know what we got to do. We know what we got to do. And she did that. And that's how they got the land that the house was built on, that is still there today,
wow,
that both of them lived in it until they passed away.
wow,
And the house is still in the family today
wow,
because of mom,
right,
what mom did. And then on top of that, when they got ready to do the mortgage, build the house, because dad did not have any credit established,
right.
the white man
Come on.
that he worked for
Uh-huh.
wrote a letter to the mortgage company saying that Mose has a full-time job.
Now, is this the same white man that closed the door in his face?
No,
So he
no.
had been working for a different white
This
man this particular time.
right.
Okay.
This
All right.
this was when he worked when he worked for Neum Chevrolet.
Okay.
This was after the this was after the sharecropping.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah, but they wouldn't give Daddy a mortgage because he had no credit. He
Right.
didn't have a sturdy job,
Right.
and so he went to work for the Chevrolet place, and the boss up there wrote the mortgage company a letter, basically saying that Dad had a full-time job, he had a stable job
Yeah.
in order for him to get the mortgage to build a
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And that
Wow.
was a white man.
Wow.
I
So
mean,
they're not all bad.
no, they're not all bad. No,
Right.
they're not all bad. No,
Right.
no,
So this is
no.
so this is the premise of the book. Why does my skin color matter? Right? That's the premise of the book. Why does it matter? Because we live in a world now where it doesn't have to, and like you said, I think you summed it up perfectly in the beginning when you said it might matter to some, but
Right.
why should it matter to me?
And and because it mattered to one group or one person over here, you know, you got to think about, does it really matter to the one that really matters? And that's our creator,
Come on.
God himself.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to him.
Right.
So if it doesn't matter to him, you know, it doesn't matter to me, even
Right.
though I realize that there are some out there
Yeah.
that it does matter to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, this is man, I thank you for coming on and talking with me
Well,
about this book.
well, thank
I
you for
want
having me.
Yeah. The book is called Why Does My Skin Color Matter? The author is my uncle, James Puckett Sr. Where can we find your book if they want to purchase your book?
You can get it at Amazon or you can get it at Barnes and Noble.
There you go.
Yep.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And so y'all take a look at the book, grab the book, read the book, and you got 11 other books that's out there. Are they also on Barnes and Noble and
And Amazon, yes.
okay. So you got to look him up, James
Yeah.
Puckett Senior. He has written 11 books. Is this number 11?
That's 12.
This is number 12. So he's
Yeah.
written 12 books, and he's a book writing machine. But yeah, he has some really good books, really good information, and I want you to go out and support and to buy and to read the material. You know, here's one thing that I will say about, because I know people come from different consciences of thought, right? We
Yeah.
all come from a different broad spectrum of thinking. And one thing that I've understood is that in our community, what we do not do anymore, that I love what Dr. King did. And I said this the other day, Dr. King challenged people to think, critically think, right? He didn't agree with everything on either side. He just wanted to challenge people to critically think about the situation that you were in, to understand where we're at and how we can overcome.
Right.
I think that's why Dr. King was so important to the movement, is because he wasn't political in the sense that he took sides. He was more concerned about us thinking differently.
That's
Kind of
exactly
like what we
right.
talked about earlier, thinking differently about
Yeah.
our situation and where we're at, and critically think and be able to critically understand, man, we can change the situation.
Yeah.
We can change the outcome. We no longer have to be slaves. We no longer have to be bow
exactly
down
right.
to the slaves.
That's
We don't have to
exactly
do
right.
none of that stuff anymore. We've been
That's
free.
exactly, that's exactly, me as a black man, I'm not a slave,
Right.
and I don't look at the white man as a slave owner.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the way I look at it. I have the same God-given opportunities that they have.
Absolutely. And it's based on what we do with them.
It's based on what we do.
I know there's people that's watching, and they're going to be from different spectrums.
Yeah.
I would suggest that they just take an opportunity to read other thoughts,
Yes,
and see
yes.
if they can, because I can learn from anybody, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I can learn what to do, and I can learn what not to do.
That's exactly right.
From anybody,
Exactly right.
right? If at the least I can learn what not to do.
Yep.
And so if we could take some time out and to understand and communicate. This is the other challenge that I have in our community, is that we don't communicate. We're very passionate about our opinions, as I am, but we don't come together and communicate. And I think that's what we need to do again.
Yeah, we don't have a dialogue
Exactly.
about our differences. I would just like to say that, we, especially as a black community, we got to stop allowing other people to think for us.
Absolutely.
I mean, we got to think for ourselves. We know, what's good, what's right, what's wrong, what's evil, or whatever. Don't let someone tell you, that good is evil.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it's not true.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, thank you, for coming on here and
thank you
talking about this. We'll have to do this again.
Yes.
Yeah, you sparked something when I started talking about your book and what I was going to do. I had another brother reach out to me that I went to Israel with. And he said, I want to talk about, he has a book called about diversity. And so he wants to talk about his book. And so we're going to bring him on and we're going to have the same conversation. And so, man, I just appreciate the conversation. I know we're going to continue to have it and just spark the conversation amongst our communities.
Yes.
That's where I said, somebody asked me, how do we start change? And I said, well, change starts in our community. And that doesn't mean your broad community. I don't mean outside. Most of the time, it starts in your home. Have the conversation there, and then starting the people on the block. And then you start building a community where you start having a conversation.
Start branching out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
thanks again, for coming
Thank
on
you.
ReWord. And so thank you all for watching and listening and commenting. I love the conversation, and we're going to keep the conversation going. Until next time, we're going to see you later.
Yep. God bless you.